Hey everyone, I'm Brad Chmielewski, and I am back from TwitchCon. You're back in the home office, home studio, playing Vainglory, and you know what? We come back from this amazing event, and we get a patch. 1.9 dropped, and this thing is huge. We got Phinn, we got guild and teams, we got the rework of Petal, we got sky buffs. It's pretty massive, and there's a lot of changes to go through. I try to grab someone from the community to run through this whole patch to give their opinions on it as well as mine. And this week I have Dragonborne joining me on this episode. So this is fantastic. We're getting back to kind of the normal episodes. We kind of did two different ones. We did one with DZ on how to stream. Go back and watch that one. That was episode 50. That'll be good for a long time. You know, it's not just Vainglory news and forum updates. So there's a little more. You can go back and listen to it whenever you want. And then on episode 51, we did a little TwitchCon recap with Addy Endress and Snuggle Snatch. And that was a lot of fun. But now we're back here, normal format. So hopefully you enjoyed the little break and like the little change up on the show. And if you're liking the show, I still have the Patreon page up. That's over at patreon.com/Shatter The Vain. You can go over there, donate if you can. Really helps me do more with the show, keep it rolling. And you know, like this week we're doing 2 episodes, and if we get to a milestone in there, we can do 2 episodes every week. So check that out. But I appreciate everyone that's listening to the show. I love getting all the tweets and the emails and all that good stuff. So please keep those coming. But let's do it. Let's jump into episode 52.
Shatter the Vain, a podcast about vainglory.
Welcome to episode number 52 of Shatter the Vain. My name is Brad Chmielewski, and this is a podcast all about Vainglory. Every week, we try to break down the news, gameplay, game tips, and try to become better players together. And this week, we got a patch dropping on us, 1.9. And to help me go over that, I have Dragonborne joining me once again. Welcome to the podcast.
Hey, Brad. I'm proud to be a 2-timer.
Yeah, it's fantastic to have you here. You just got back from sounded like a great trip, so I should learn more about that offline because we're going to be talking about Vainglory here.
Nothing but vainglory.
I'm sure you're probably like come back to this like crazy update after your vacation and time away, right?
Yeah, it was nice though because I was away during the Warhorn fiasco, so I didn't get to experience any of that.
Oh, you lucked out there. For people that don't know who you are, you want to do a quick introduction. Even though you've been on here before, someone may not have seen that, or we might have new listeners.
Absolutely. Yeah, my name is Dragonborne. I used to be a Twitch streamer, and I still have my Twitch stream, but I do stream mostly on Camcord now. And
Okay.
actually, I'm partnered with Camcord, and I stream at camcord.com/live/Dragonborne. I basically got into Vainglory when it came out, and immediately got drawn into this streaming and started streaming Vainglory. I stream Vainglory almost exclusively with a few minor exceptions.
Sure.
And just really love the community and met you. And we got to chat a long time ago and became friends. And we've been pretty active members ever since.
Yeah, this game it sucks you in. I don't know. I've tried to quit it. Not really, but it just like I keep playing it. And it's like, oh my god, these updates every month, and it just gets better and better.
It does.
Well, yeah, let's jump into 1.9.
Vainglory News.
So the first thing in 1.9, with most of the patches, we've been getting a new hero. And there's only been like maybe 2 or 3 patches for the time that I've been playing that haven't had a hero. So we've come to expect a new hero, I think, in every patch at this point. And this time we got Phinn. This is the biggest hero I've ever seen on the fold.
He is huge. He is very, very tall.
Yeah, and he's got some really neat abilities. I think Adiendris mentioned, like, he's just like this giant dragon that just destroys Scarf. Like, just looks like he would just eat Scarf in one bite. That little baby dragon uh, cannot stand up to Phinn. If they had like a fight off the fold, it's like they would never be near each other.
No, he is he's ferocious. He's a really good look. They made a few like minor tweaks like when they first revealed him. He still looks really amazing, but the one thing I just can't get over is the bubbles coming out of his pipe. I don't know if you realize that they kind of switched that. That wasn't originally bubbles, I don't believe.
Oh no, I didn't even notice that. Was it smoke before?
I believe it was smoke. I could be wrong about that, but it's definitely bubbles now, and it adds a little bit of a playful uh aspect to his otherwise pretty daunting look.
Uh-huh. It might have been smoke before and they've changed it to bubbles because I know in League of Legends they've had trouble with characters with cigars and going into other regions. Like you're kind of like almost advertising smoking, so they wouldn't allow that. So rather than having to create like two sets of artwork for it, you just do one. That's a little more playful.
Right. I mean, even in the States, yeah, I think smoking's kind of frowned
Yeah.
upon.
Let's quickly run through his abilities because it's a pretty unique kit. The first thing is his heroic perk is called Unstoppable, and it is what it is. He is unstoppable. He can't be stunned, and if he's like slowed or anything like that, it's reduced. So, man, stopping this guy is just impossible. And I think that would be one of the biggest things to get used to, like especially someone who plays a lot of Catherine. It's like you stun people. That's what you do. Like if he's the last person up, oh, we gotta stop him. We gotta get him, lock him down. And you just can't lock this guy down.
Right. He's unstoppable, but he is slow, and being able to slow him a little bit would definitely reduce his mobility. I've heard a lot of
Yeah.
people who've been playing the beta talk about this specifically. Like, how do you take advantage of the fact that he can't be stunned? How do you give him mobility? And a lot of players I know have said they've run the jungle, for instance, with Arden, so they could vanguard him a lot, give him extra mobility. And
Okay.
every single player I know, especially all the Vainglorious players that I hang around, have said that you really have to buy boots early with him because once he's got that mobility, it just allows you to take that advantage, his ability to not get stunned
Okay. Good to
and
know.
exploit it.
Yeah. That maybe I haven't played a game with him yet on 1.9, so maybe I will, and it'll force me to start getting boots earlier because I'm terrible at getting boots until like it's someone's like, "What are you doing? Not getting boots? Like get boots."
Yeah, and a lot of, I mean, it's kind of like you hear two camps on that. And with other supports like Catherine and Arden, you have abilities that allow you to close and allow you to run away without boots. And sometimes that can help delay your decision to buy boots. But with Um, and unlike in Fortress as well, but unlike those heroes, Finn just doesn't have any closing or sneaking away abilities. He's not able to get away, so he's forced to. I think you absolutely have to get boots early, and I think you need to upgrade his boots to tier 2 probably earlier than you would most heroes.
Oh, good to know. Yeah, good thought. His A ability is called Quibble. Finn slams his anchor down on a neighboring location and heavily slowing enemies. And then if you overdrive this ability, the slow turns into a stun. So I say you got to overdrive this ability.
Absolutely. A stun is the most important. Stun is the most important crowd control you can get in the game,
Yeah.
and because it's twofold, it stops people in their place and kind of silences them. They can't like react to you what you're doing for that small amount of time,
Uh-huh.
and the slow is good. There's a lot of supports or people that have slows like Arden's. Vanguard actually creates a little bit of slow around him, but this is a pretty wide area. I was just playing a little bit in practice. I haven't played an actual game with him yet, but
Okay.
this is a substantial area, not as big as like a Adagio's ultimate, but it's definitely bigger than something you would get from like an Arden. It's closer to the size. It looks like when I see it, it's closer to like a Celestal, maybe
Okay.
a little bit bigger than like a Celestal or a Jewel. So it's a pretty sizable area that you can create this stun.
All right. Okay. And then his B ability is called Polite Company. This is crazy, just wide range. So what happens is Finn stomps the earth, dealing crystal damage to all the enemies in a wide area, and then
Very
launching
wide.
them towards him. So it like sucks them in after he hits the ground. And The effects reverb around all the allies, granting them a barrier along with bonus armor and shield for the next few seconds. And if you overdrive this, it makes the enemies travel farther towards Phinn upon the stops. So it's almost like, if you think about it, like you jumped on a trampoline and stuff like rolled towards you. It's kind of like that idea.
And they move quickly. There's not like a slow movement towards you. It's a very like sudden little jerk. It may catch someone off guard. I haven't again gotten to see what it looks like overdrive. It's a really wide area. This is now closer to the size of Adagio's Verse of Judgment. Now you're talking
Yeah.
about much bigger diameter, and it looks daunting. And my guess is with the ability to buff all your heroes with armor, that's something that can really help. Like if you have a pure carry.
Yeah, and unlike Adagio's, like you can't see that area, so he can sometimes be on the other side of a wall. Maybe people are trying to dive you at turret, and he can kind of like pull you towards himself and the team. So maybe a Vox or a Celeste can get in there and do the damage. So hugging your turret's a little harder when there's a Phinn on the team. And
I've even heard stories of people playing during the beta where they were able to pull somebody out of the bush near the turret from the gold mine spot. Like they
oh
were
wow,
actually able to pull somebody out of the lane. Now, granted, the person had to be very, very close to the edge of that lane,
yeah,
but it's just right there on the edge that if you can get just close enough, you could pull somebody right out of the edge of their bush from the lane.
okay. So I think this will be an ability you have to watch out for and just kind of really disrupts the team. His ultimate is one I've been waiting for a character to have, I think, since the launch. It's called Forced Accord. Phinn throws his anchor in a direction. After the anchor reaches its destination, it yanks back, and if Phinn hits or somebody, they're pulled back. And so he can grab multiple people, all three teammates, or just one teammate, depending on who he hit.
Yeah, and I realized I just misspoke. I was talking about the Force Accord when I was talking
Oh,
about
pulling them?
Yeah, apologize about that.
No problem.
But
The polite
that's scary.
company
That's
still.
scary to think that you have an ability that can pull somebody out of the lane, almost like a glaive ultimate, where you're afterburning into the lane from the gold mine area, and now you're pulling somebody out of the lane into the gold mine area. So if you have the gold mine and you just pulled somebody right into range.
Yeah, and chasing people like through some of those tight corridors where we've all had fights where Fox ults us or Celeste or Jewel, and now you're running up the lane, and now you got Phinn who can just like throw his hook straight down and just pull the whole team back. Like you guys aren't getting to safety. That's it. We're still fighting.
Yeah, that's something I hope I never have to experience on the wrong end of that anchor because it can pull all of them back. It can pull all three heroes back, plus even minions along the way. So it's a very powerful ability.
Yeah, and so overall, this guy is crazy tanky. Like he does a lot of damage too, but you really need to just make sure like kill everyone else before you even think about attacking Phinn, unless maybe you're trying to stack your breaking point or something like that. Uh, He's tough to play. You picked him up? Do you see yourself playing him a lot?
I mean, I've heard a lot of people say that he's probably going to be a support in the support role. I did buy him. I just I don't know if he's going to be able to be kind of like an Adagio, where sometimes you can play maybe more in low elo a carry role in the
Yeah,
jungle. I've even seen people play like Fortress and Arden carry, so maybe he can mesh into those roles. I'm not sure if it's going to be weapon or if it's going to be crystal. I feel right now with his current kit that you're probably going to see more crystal
yeah.
just because you're going to be focusing on his abilities and also trying to get cooldown and slows. But yeah, he's definitely going to be a support, and I main supports. For
Oh.
anyone who knows who I am, I mean that's almost all I like to play. It's something that I'm just better at since I started playing Vainglory. And I see him supposedly being that tanky role, but he doesn't have great mobility. And it's something that so buying boots early is just going to be very important.
Yeah, you're gonna have to like just kind of body block a lot with him and just kind of protect your carries because you're not going in there like a Catherine or even an Arden and be like, all right guys, I'm starting this fight, follow me. It's kind of like bring the fight towards you.
Yeah. I think where he'll be very useful is like against Ataka, because Ataka's really sneaky and will actually try to avoid the support and try to
Yeah,
go around and find that carry. But now, if you're just in range of your carry, you can actually drag Taka back away from like ganking a Celeste or taking out a Celeste, because Celeste is
right.
trying to stay away and poke. And so that's a kind of a strategy I think needs to be mastered with him. I think that it'll be useful for him is to keep the enemy heroes closer to him. And that's where his B ability is also useful because with polite company, he can keep people kind of forced back to him. So you're trying to get to the carry, you're trying to get away from the support. You don't want to
Yeah.
kill the support, but he keeps annoyingly so dragging you back, bringing you closer and away from where you're ultimately trying to go.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think I'm definitely gonna pick him up too because I end up playing a lot of support. Just end up solo queuing a lot, and that's the role no one ever wants to play. So I end up playing that quite a bit. So I'll probably pick him up just to add to my rotation of heroes. Since we're talking about heroes, let's jump down in the patch notes and talk about all these other hero balance changes because there was quite a few this time and some I guess some good. I think it was all everything was pretty solid this time. Leading off, Ringo got fixed. Uh,
Yes.
he disappeared in 1.8. He was just like, if you picked him, you were probably like amazing Ringo. But now he's going to be back. His twirling silver duration is up from the 4 to 6 seconds to 6 seconds at all ranks, and the attack speed is now back up to where it should be. This is just nice.
It's so amazing when you think about how a fine balance Super Evil Megacorp performs every time they create a balance to a hero, because the smallest tweak to just one ability of a hero can make them one of the best carries in the game to almost non-existent. And that's what
Yeah,
happened to Ringo. And I think that they're very aware. Super Evil Megacorp's always paying attention to what the community's saying, to what they're feeling, and sometimes they do make decisions that probably didn't pan out the way they thought. This is kind of a reversal of their nerf that they basically applied to Ringo. Again, a very small change they made in 1.8
yeah,
that they've done a complete 180 and now have come, or 190, 1.9, and come down to fixing. And I think you're going to see Ringo back to where he was. I think that he's always been the try and true laner and
yeah,
stutter stepper in the game, and I think you'll see him back in that role.
yeah. I hope so because he was kind of my default lane pick a lot of the time.
And he
But
was still good. He just didn't have the edge against a lot of the way more mobile heroes like Fox.
yeah, and then Sky, who's got some big reworks in this patch. I don't think she was where they necessarily wanted her to be in 1.8. There was a lot of people who did get good with her. I was seeing towards the end, like just man, you know how to use that mobility and jump around with Sky, but I feel like the masses just couldn't grasp Sky and were having trouble with it. So I think they made some good fixes this time. Uh,
Yeah, a lot of reduction in cooldowns. I'm looking at for Surrey Strike, and Surrey Strike was definitely Sky's best ability from the last update when they first introduced. It was something that when you did get a good Surrey Strike during a team fight, it did a lot of damage. So
yeah,
now that it's going to be up a lot more, and they increased the AOE as well, which means being close together is going to be very dangerous because that's a quite a deadly attack, and it kind of comes in very quickly. Maybe not prepared for it. Um, and
and
one of the things, the trends that we saw here, and I just want to mention quickly, like we see with Forward Barrage, you're seeing them start to try to address the overdrive issue, where you're seeing them create tiny little perks to overdriving a certain ability. And in this case,
right,
it's not much for Forward Barrage, where they've decreased it for 5 seconds down from the 6 seconds. It's not a lot, but it's something. But you're seeing it as we go through all the other upgrades and balances. You're going to see that kind of as a trend. And just to kind of go back to Phinn real quickly, that was what was most unique about Phinn is
yeah,
each overdrive for each ability seemed to offer something new to that ability or something a little bit better that was not just more damage or less cooldown, but actually a kind of a different mechanic to how that ability will actually work.
yeah, and I like that because it's kind of like it creates that like this is how I play Finn and this is how you play Finn. Like I like to max A and C, but maybe you like to max B and C, and so we each you can add your own play style to it. So that's kind of nice. And I hope we see more of that as they like balance heroes and move forward.
I agree. I think we will.
So I think it's going to be a lot harder to, lock Sky down, and you're going to be able to just understand, I think, where you're jumping around with the Surrey Strike, and you also get a cooldown reset when activating with forward barrage. Sorry, you get a cooldown reset after you do Surrey Strike. So it's kind of like Saw's Shank, that you were getting the reset on your suppressing fire after the Shank, so you could. Right? Is that, did I say that backwards? There's a reset there, so you could kind of run away. Same idea here as the forward barrage. So you could start it off, Surrey Strike in, and then forward barrage again. So you're going to see a lot of good movements and just mechanics here with Sky.
Yeah, they really tweaked Sky's I think positioning is how she's gonna work in the lane because they increased her range and they gave her the ability to get that speed bonus immediately upon a target lock. So like that first
Yeah.
application of the target lock, you get your speed bonus, which is something that's really important for Sky is to get that speed bonus. That's that mobility she needs. That everyone knows Vox is a great mobile laner, and I think you're going to see Sky turn into the next great mobile laner. Very, very, very powerful. But you're right. Now that all the tweaks they made to Sky, I think they actually might have made her just a little bit overpowered. I think time will tell, and maybe the difficulty level of playing her will still keep like people who aren't as good away from playing her. But she got buffs all across the board,
Yeah.
and with a few minor exceptions.
Yeah, I think if you main lane, you need to practice Sky. You need to pick her up because she's probably going to be the top carry in this patch. Like it's looking like it, and if you can master her abilities, you're definitely gonna climb.
I absolutely agree.
The next hero that just got a minor adjustment was Rona. She was kind of strong this last patch. I'd run into Ronas and be like, holy crap, how'd you do that much damage to me? And like sometimes I just gave up. I was like, I can't run from you, I'm gonna die. But
Yeah,
now
and it was all because of the foe splitter.
yeah.
And that's the ability that they decided, you know what, we're going to tweak. And minor stuff, they definitely are cautious because they don't want to make Rona too weak. She's supposed to be a berserker, which means she's supposed to be dealing a lot of damage. And I think that they did a good job at just doing small, minor tweaks to make sure that she's not overpowered, but not remove her viability.
Right. So we'll still maybe see her, especially people who are once again starting to get good with Rona. And I was usually happy when I saw Rona on my team. So if you're picking Rona, you probably know what you're doing. The next hero that I don't know if they know what they want to do with Vox here. Vox is at the top of the food chain, and they just continue to keep him there. They were saying his crystal ratio is a bit too much in this patch, or in the previous patch, so they kind of gave him some more weapon ratios in this one, but they didn't even take away really much from his crystal ratio here. And I was kind of surprised. The only thing that they kind of did change on the crystal side was Julia's song, the Residence Bolts do not emit towards that target after reflex blocking, because that was one of the issues, like you couldn't reflex block those resident bounces. And the wait for it, the line nuke, it's now down a little bit and going to do like a little bit of a different damage. So I think that's going to help with those crystal damages. You would just instantly be at like 10% health.
Right. They split it up so the timing's now different. You now have a nuke line and the shockwave deals. It's interesting though because they did this to Jewel as well. They kind of separated the amount of damage that's dealt all at once.
Those ticks,
and
yeah.
it's really good for most heroes. It actually hurts Catherine because it actually reduces the amount of damage that Catherine can reflect back at enemy heroes. So it was one of the advantages when Jewel was very strong that Catherine could counter with her Stormguard, and Vox the same way. This actually reduces it, which means there's very little damage being reflected back. But aside from that, this is a very good change because for the most part, it now allows teams to react. So you may have gotten hit by damage in that first wave, which you otherwise wouldn't have, but now you can react and avoid the larger chunk of damage because you've already dealt some. I think sometimes people are slow to respond when they're not seeing damage, but then all of a sudden their health bar disintegrates and they're wondering, wait, what happened?
Right, because you couldn't even crucible that damage before, because you would still get those resident stacks on you, and it was kind of silly. Like, I know I crucibled those alts a couple times, and they did not help.
And they increased the cooldowns for Wait For It, which I think was really smart because it felt like Wait For It was up every single team fight.
Yeah, it was, at overdrive it was 30 seconds, and now it's at least 40 seconds, so that's a little better. But yeah, it was up pretty often. But knowing that Sonic Zoom now does an additional 20% or weapon ratio, I think Weapon Vox is going to make a comeback here.
Yeah, I think that that's what they're trying. I think Weapon Vox was still strong, but whenever a meta forms, it's always like, well, Crystal's stronger, so it's always stronger. So you go it. So now what they're trying to do is bring Crystal down just a little bit and bring Weapon up just a little bit. It's
Yeah.
like they've got two dials that they're constantly tweaking back and forth, trying to find that happy median. And they've changed Vox Kit so much and the way he works so much that it's amazing that he's still such a strong hero, but he really is. And after this update, he's still going to be a strong hero.
Well, yeah, because they change numbers, and nothing really goes down. Like, the ratios don't go down too much. They're always like, hey, we'll bring this part down, but bring this other one up. So he's a funny hero, and yeah, he's just gonna keep being strong until somebody else comes out and can just destroy him.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then another big change here was Taka. Taka, you were dangerous out there. I know, ran into many Takas where just like they would carry teams just solo, like 1v3 an entire team, and like more power to them, because I cannot play a good Taka. But this time, I think Taka was a little too strong, because we're no longer going to see lifesteal on Mortal Strike, which is definitely it's going to hurt Taka, but I guess everyone else is going to feel a little better. And you were mentioning that you saw a forum post or a Reddit post where people were saying that this kind of hurts the whole idea of what Taka is, being the assassin, like going in there, destroying a member of the team, and like getting out.
Right. So they did make tweaks to all three abilities, and the Reddit post that we were talking about before the show uh, was really focusing on the two parts, the life steal that you no longer get, because I can tell you firsthand that there were many times where I thought I had a Taka, but
Yeah.
he came in and was it Camus? House of
Yeah.
Camus
Yeah.
right over top of me and got a little bit of life steal just enough to hit me one more time with a critical strike, and I was dead. And they were talking about how that really means that it kind of adds more to his squishiness. He's already a very squishy hero. That's one of the squishiest in the game.
Hmm.
But the biggest part of the Reddit post that I found interesting was it was really focusing on the Kai stacks that are granted from Xretsu, and how the current strategy is for Taka players is they can kind of just Xretsu into any fight. They can kind of initiate a
Right.
fight because within about 2 to 3 hits, they've already maxed their 5 stack Kai stacks, and now they're dealing an exorbitant amount of critical strikes, and they're really putting a lot of damage. But now you can still get to that 3 if you overdrive. But now you start your early games, your 1 and 2. So you're looking at your early and mid game. You're only going to be getting 1 and 2 stacks when you Retsu. And
Right.
that really changes the dynamics because it adds a considerable amount of time to reaching your 5 stacks. And most good Taka players really don't like to be in a battle. They don't like to be fighting without their 5 stacks. They're very vulnerable. They're not dealing enough damage. And they
Right.
usually have to get out of there. And because of that, you now are faced with this dilemma of do you try to build your stacks up and risk getting some damage, some extra damage, and wasting some time and not really being in the right position in order to get to your 5 stacks? Or do you risk, trying to get your stacks quickly enough during the fights and maybe even building attack speed to do so you can get, or like a tornado trigger to get those
Yeah.
criticals up? Because the key is to have those stacks, but also be triggering critical strikes, which will continue building them. And I think the concern with a lot of Taka players is that they don't think they don't think that they're going to be able to get their stacks up fast enough and actually engage a fight like an assassin, that they're going to actually have to play wait and see and build their stacks up kind of behind by like you kind of have to leave like a heal minion kind of sitting there so you can just build your stacks up.
Just for Ataka, like don't touch that one because we
Yeah,
may have
just
to be in
don't
a
touch
fight.
it so I can build my stacks when we go to team fight below Gold Mine or in front of Kraken. And the alternative is then you actually would use like Gold Mine or Kraken to build your stacks, but then that would be very negative as well as you basically bring on that aggro from Kraken or Gold Mine, which could be pretty heavy.
So might be the end of the Taka reign, which we may be in like this new tank meta with Finn, and the assassins may be a little bit in trouble.
It's possible. I like I said, without the life steal and with the issue with the sky stacks, maybe somebody figures out a build. Maybe you build more criticals like a Tyrant's Monocle earlier. That would definitely help solve that problem where you don't have to. You can build up your stacks faster, provided I'm getting the mechanics here right. But it seems like there's definitely an issue. Now, one of the changes that was supposedly a buff was the fact that the heal is now quite substantial when you Kaku,
Yeah.
but it's not substantial enough to really allow you to come out and fight quickly like a instant 20% lifesteal would give you. 20% lifesteal from a pretty heavy damage like a 300 damage or a 200 damage that Taka's capable of dealing um, is can be quite a bit. Now you're looking at 40 and of course Kaku has that. Like you see it scales up to 70 now, so the overdrive is where it's at and you do get a 25% crystal ratio.
I do
But
like that they got rid of that bug though, where you could. It wasn't really a bug where you could teleport home, hiding in your box.
Yeah, I think that was good, but I don't think it solves any. I think it does hurt Taka a little bit because
Yeah.
some people are strategies, but I don't think you saw high elo players using that. I think high elo players, unless they were very desperate, for the most part, they used Kaku to try to reposition so they could come back into the fight. When I played with good Taka players, I never saw them teleport home while invisible unless they were trying to steal the Kraken, and then get out of there.
Okay.
That would probably be the only exception.
Okay. I'm sure Gedienton is working on some sort of Taka build with all his numbers and spreadsheets he usually has. So he'll probably post something on the Reddit here in the next couple days of what he's figured out. But I think Taka is going to be definitely one they're going to keep an eye on and see what they can figure out to do. Next on the list of changes has been Glaive. Glaive has not been changed since his release. Is this the first time he's getting I guess a nerf?
It's definitely been a long time because I can't remember. I'd have to go back to some of the very early updates before I was looking as closely. I think I started like 1.1.4 really paying attention, or 1.1.5 to these update stats. But this is a pretty interesting decision by Super Evil Megacorp.
Right. So first off, the Twisted Stroke, his A ability, is now going to cost less energy. So that's a huge buff. There's been times where I questioned how much energy this thing used. It was like, oh my god, that's all I could do, guys. Sorry, I got nothing else. So this will be kind of nice that you'll be able to actually maybe use it again when you're kind of low on energy. Very nice.
Yeah, and you're gonna probably see now people early game actually upgrade the A ability instead of the afterburn, because you do see people sometimes wait for Glaive because Twisted Stroke always helped you farm early and
Yeah.
farm very, very fast. It gave you basically the ability, if you timed it right, to get an extra auto attack, and it was also a sizable amount of damage. So it's kind of similar to how Koshka operates now, where Koshka's a very fast farmer because of her low energy on her abilities allows her to spam her abilities even early game when she doesn't have a lot of energy or a lot of items to regenerate that energy, and can use that to increase basically her attacks or the amount of damage she's dealing per second. I
Yeah.
think you may see people make that decision with Twisted Stroke. I think you're going to see a lot more people upgrade it early so they can spam it. You see, you can get 2 Twisted Strokes for the cost of 1, and now you can probably farm much, much faster. I think you're going to see people
Maybe
definitely
start it this time, Red. Like
start it
quick.
if they deliberately are trying to like get their back minions and avoid an engagement.
Uh-huh. And then on Bloodsong, his ultimate, the base damage is down. It was doing a lot of damage when you had 20 stacks in there. It's almost been cut in half at level 1. And then the damage from the stacks, though, that's unchanged. So it's still going to do the same amount of damage if you are max stacks, but the base damage is kind of down. But the base damage crystal ratio has been upped from 30% to 110%. That is quite a bit of crystal damage to jump from. And the crystal ratio per stack is up from 1.5 to 2%. I heard someone talking about like, oh, are we going to start to see crystal glaives now? I don't think it's enough to really make it worthwhile. Like getting a shatter glass on glaive, it's an expensive item.
I think it'll depend on what it looks like when you see this blood song with a shatter glass and a broken myth in action. It does say, they reduced the initial base damage from Bloodsong, but with at 20 stacks, it sounds like it's still unchanged. So you're still getting at 20 stacks that same amount of damage, but now there's a massive increase in crystal. So I think what you may see is, people building a broken myth, and you think about you're at 6 stacks with broken myth. And then you go and you have their 20 stacks on Bloodsong and you deal damage at 110%, with 2% per stack. That's a lot of damage. And what you'll probably see is a crystal glaive with a lot of defense.
Yeah, maybe in that kind of almost like the roam roll, maybe get the shatter glass or get aftershock or something like that in there just to, get that crystal ratio off. That's a possibility.
Yeah, I mean, the 110% base damage with 2% per stack. It's quite incredible because if you've got like 200 crystal, which is a pretty reasonable amount of crystal to have, you can actually get with 2 items and an infusion, you can usually get very close to 300. And with that kind of damage, you're looking at on top of the 400 damage you get from 20 stacks, you're looking at another 300 to 400 damage. You're looking at 800 damage. That's a lot of damage coming out of one ability with someone who really only needs to build 2 items and an infusion. And so I think you're going to see some pretty tanky. You're going to see like some tanky crystal glaives if you do see the crystal build.
Right. Okay. And then the last hero to mention is someone probably close to both our hearts is Catherine. Catherine, just all around solid hero. She had a few little tweaks last time. In the last update, she got a bonus shield from her perk, as well as the armor perk. She's just always felt pretty safe when you're playing her.
I love Catherine. I am a Catherine main.
Yeah, but now that stun, it's not going to stun as long anymore. It's going to be slightly shorter, or about the same in the early game, but late game, it's down quite a bit. If you maxed it like most people did, it was at 1.7, and now it's only at like 1.4. So that doesn't seem like a lot, but a 1.7 stun is a lot in this game where someone's dead within 3 seconds.
Yeah, it really is a huge difference. And it's not a lot of difference. So mid game is pretty much unchanged. You get a tenth of a small percentage for that early game increase. So I think the first level, so the first couple minutes of the game, you've got a tiny little increase, which could be useful during early invade. You may see people now because one of the faults that Catherine's always had is you see a Catherine on another team. If their jungle carry is a little bit weaker early game, you'll almost always see an early invade still, even with the current comps. You see a cruel Catherine, you almost always try to see an early invade. Now with this little extra stun, maybe they're trying to help give you just a little bit of an oomph to try to prevent those invades. Stuns are really great at countering invades, but the late game stun is going to be substantially reduced.
Yeah, but even at 0.05 increase on level 1, that's not very much that I don't think most people who play are going to notice unless you're playing at Vainglorious level.
I agree with you. I don't know why they even bothered, other than trying to maybe give some kind of tipping of the hat to the players to make them feel like not all was lost,
Feel
but
okay
it is
about
a
it. Yeah.
large amount. I mean, when you because you think about by the time you're like going on late game, which is like after the Kraken's up, 15 minutes or so, zero point 0.5 seconds or no, in this case it's 0.35 seconds is a long time because you're looking at a couple auto attacks. Especially if you have like a Vox with a sonic zoom,
Uh-huh.
that's enough time for him to come out, sonic zoom, and put on a couple attacks on you, and that could be the difference in a game.
Yeah. And then you mentioned blocking like the Jewel ult and the Vox ult with her Storm Guard and how you could reflect a lot of that damage. And so that damage has now been increased if you start to build some crystal onto Catherine. The damage numbers are increased across the board, plus a 50% crystal ratio. And you also kind of have a reason to overdrive it now because damage reflected by this ability has been increased by 25%.
That's pretty huge. I would like to see a few other tweaks to this ability. Specifically, I don't like that it splits the damage up across minions as well, and also engages. So you actually have to be very careful activating Stormguard when you're around Goldmine or Kraken because it actually will force Kraken into the fight when you don't want it. It can be a detriment, and I really was hoping with this update that they would look at possibly changing that. They appear to have not. So for the time being, all we get is the extra 25%. I think it's really good. I just don't think it's still going to be enough. The reflective damage, um, it is strong, but I don't know if you're going to see people overdrive because the stun is still really, really, really powerful. It's
And
still a
this
substantial amount,
and the silence
and
is, yeah, pretty fantastic.
yeah, so you're still going to have people question. But I think what this update does do, which is I think what the developers wanted, was they just want people to consider it.
Yeah, I know. I may try it. May not put that extra point into the silence, into the ultimate, and put it into the storm guard instead, just to see if that is worth it. Because sometimes the silence is great, but if you don't get it off right, it doesn't add anything.
Yeah, and if you coordinate with your team, the really the big issue with the silence is just the cooldown and having that increased cooldown with team fights. But I will say Stormguard is very 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 powerful when you use correctly, and it just also depends on the hero. So you'll always see, for instance, if Ataka's chasing you and you put up your Stormguard, that Taka's got to like kind of cool down a little bit and pull
Hmm.
off you because he knows that his crits will reflect a majority of damage back at him, and he doesn't want to do that. I've seen, I remember Ringo's, Ringo would twirly silver and try to chase a Catherine, but the Catherine would put up a storm guard. And I played one game where I killed a Ringo because he wasn't paying attention, and he actually was coming to me. He was putting so much damage out that I actually reflected enough. So that extra 25% damage, it might be enough to damage an enemy hero fast enough when they're not paying attention and catch them by surprise.
That's true, yeah. Because I know sometimes you would just see people ignore it and just keep attacking. So if it's doing 25% more, it might be worth it. Interesting. So that's all the hero changes. But then you were mentioning Enclave crystal infusions.
Well, Petal,
Oh, what about Petal? We skipped Petal. Oh my
we
god,
skipped Petal
I
completely.
scrolled right past her. Petal. She
No
wasn't in
love
the
for Petal.
she wasn't in the balance changes. I skipped right over Petal. How can we
They
forget
kind of
Petal?
kept Petal like its whole section dedicated to Petal. There's a lot of changes with Petal. I'll let you kind of highlight the big ones.
Right. So Petals, yeah, this is a rework. This is our first hero rework that we've seen come out of Super Evil.
Absolutely.
Usually they try to tweak the numbers and figure it out. Her heroic perk is basically the same. It's the Munion. So Petal controls 3 Munions, and a few moments after Petal plants a seed, it'll automatically sprout. So that's the difference. She always had the Munions, but you had to plant them and then use another ability to sprout them. And then, in addition, basic attacks mark enemies with sunlight. So this is a really nice little mechanic here. You're getting kind of stacks on them. So if a Munion bites a marked target, the sunlight consumed, and Petal gains 10 to 40% attack speed. So, man, this is back to that breaking point Petal weapon damage. You're just doing all that damage. So now you get your Munions out there, and you're just doing more damage. I love that.
Yeah. No, they this is a great rework. I don't know if it makes Petal Viable, I guess I really got to see it in high elo play because I played a game early. Granted, I'm with the compression of skill tier, and we'll get to that later, I guess. I played against the pedal that went down pretty hard, but I, I guess probably with the right person, this can be pretty dangerous. I never understood why they had an ability that you could activate and waste energy on, but actually get nothing from. If there were no seeds around you,
Yeah.
and you actually activated your B ability, you just wasted energy and you got nothing from it. So I'm really excited that they got rid of that probably the most annoying ability in the game, and they replaced it with something that I'm assuming won't activate unless you're actually on a boom seed. And that's to me makes a lot of sense, and it's going to be very, 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 very awesome.
Right. So her new A is called Bramblemoon Seeds. This plants the seeds directly in front of her, and then seeds near Petal will sprout into pets after a brief delay. So I also think seeds no longer stay on the map as much, correct? If Petal's like away from them, if she leaves the area for more than 20 seconds, they start to disappear.
Yeah, and that's awesome because people used to spam that. I remember playing early Vainglory metas way back in the day, and you would see seeds everywhere. And
Yeah.
then after they granted seeds vision, you started to see that kind of come back into the fold where you would see seeds just randomly. And people knew enough to like destroy them right away because that was like vision. But now they disappear, and now not only do they disappear, but they actually blow up when you step on them, which seems to make a lot more sense than just granting blind vision.
Yeah, so they blow up and knock the enemy back. So that's kind of nice. And since they do disappear, you would see them like all over the place, and people would just get free money. It was free money if you came across a Petal seed. It was kind of like, all right, let's kill that. I'll get some gold. So now you're not going to get as much gold if you do find a Petal seed. I know that's down quite a bit. Her new B ability is called Trampoline. So when activated, when you're standing on a boom seed, you trampoline off of it and it launches you forward in the direction that Petal is facing. And using this ability will rally all the pets back to Petal's location. So she like calls those minions back. And this is basically Petal's new escape or engage. And that was one of the
And I
issues
got
with
this,
Petal.
yeah. And I got to see this in action. I got to see a pedal actually activate this ability during a game, and it is actually a decent amount of space that she travels. And I was really surprised. It's like the length of a Vanguard from Arden as he travels across. It's a sizable amount. You can position yourself during a team fight effectively because you can plant a seed so quickly, and then you can jump. And provided you start in that direction, you can jump and position yourself better, jump away, get out of a team fight, try to avoid attack. And it's really going to be, I think this is going to be probably the most popular ability. Maybe you don't upgrade it all the way, but you're definitely going to be using this ability with Petal.
And I'm sure you can jump over some walls, right? I'm not sure
They said that it was select few. I don't know how easy it is.
it's got to be kind of tricky, like even probably trickier than Fox's jump is. I know his is
I
too
would
short.
say, yeah, I would say if you can Vanguard through a wall, you can probably jump through a wall with Petal.
Yeah. And then her ultimate, the spontaneous combustion, that's still the same. Petal seeds explode one by one, dealing a massive splash damage. And then afterwards, those pets become seeds, which then are automatically going to sprout up again because of her new perk. So
And then potentially explode and push people back. This
that's
is really exciting. This single-handedly might be the best part about Petal, because when I was playing the game earlier today, my whole team almost melted because the spontaneous combustion came in, and then after it had damaged us all, we started accidentally, without even thinking about it, stepping on the seeds and blowing up and pushing us back, and it caused so much confusion. It felt like the game was bugged. It just didn't. It felt so unnatural because you weren't used to this happening.
yeah.
And I was like, wow. That's something that you're going to have to get used to. Is when you're in a team fight, be careful. You're not going to be realizing, but you're going through a landmine.
Yeah. So I think these are great changes for Petal. I think it's going to take some time if we see Petal like come back into the game, just because this is almost like a new hero. And with adding Phinn and the updated Sky, does Petal still work here in the game? I'm not sure. It might be. She still might be great as a jungle carry. So I could see
I'm
her.
really excited to find out. I actually Petal's the only hero I don't have unlocked on my account,
What?
and it doesn't take very much glory, and it doesn't take very much ice, and I'm very close to probably unlocking Petal. She's not free right now, and so if I want to play with her in a casual or ranked match, I'd have to unlock her, and I'm thinking this may be the last hero that I have to unlock today.
Okay. Yeah, it's gonna be fun. I know I saw Petal last night in 1.8 that just decided to play Petal just because it was the last day and they didn't care about skill tier. As I'm like trying to I can make it. I can get to the next level. They're like, I'll pick Petal, and we lost bad. So
That's that's unfortunate.
so maybe now
For
when you see people picking Petal, you won't have as much fear.
Hopefully not. I really like the developers' approach to trying to make every hero viable. And they don't have to. Some of these heroes that they've constantly worked on and tweaked, these are heroes that don't cost a lot of glory or ice. They're very, very, very cheap. And they're kind of like the starter heroes. And a lot of games will let these starter heroes that are very cheap, they're not really bringing any money into the game's
Yeah.
economy. They'll kind of let these heroes fade away and say, yeah, you can play with these, but if you really want to win, wink, wink, you better buy these other heroes. And I'm really glad that they just refuse to do that. They refuse to let a hero go away. Catherine, Glaive, and Petal and Ringo, they continually try to make sure
Yeah.
that they're viable. And some of the, really the free heroes or the cheaper heroes, the heroes that are easy to get, are some of the best heroes in the game. And
Yeah.
with the Petal update, I'm hoping that that's the case for her too.
Yeah. And we might see more of Petal because of this amazing new skin we got. This pumpkin spice Petal for Halloween is pretty amazing. The splash art, I think, just sells it even more than the skin does, but the skin is pretty awesome. Did you get a chance to see the animation on the skin at all?
I didn't see it because I didn't buy it. I bought the Bay Witch Celeste,
Also,
as I'm sure most people will. But I was thinking about it, and thought, a lot of people are not going to buy the Petal. A lot of people have said, never, I'm not going to buy the Petal, and it's going to make it very, very rare. And so part of me, I'm so drawn to this concept that Super Evil has introduced with these seasonal skins that will never be available again. And if everybody buys Celeste but nobody buys Petal, that will just make being able to pull it out in a world where Petal's actually viable just so much sweeter. A year from now when Petal's the top laner in the game and you pulled out a sugar spice, Petal, and people are like, "Whoa, you're legit." And I hope this day exists because I'm now starting to think that I might actually make the plunge and buy it.
yeah, so both these skins, the Bay Witch and the Pumpkin Spice Petal, they're limited edition skins. They'll only be available during 1.9, which is the month basically. So we should see a new patch in that first week of November. Usually that's when we see patches as the first week. They're kind of expensive, but they're limited edition, so that's why they're kind of up there in price. And you cannot unlock these with cards. There are no cards that you can get for these skins.
They're kind of expensive, but not when you think about the fact that they're pretty much tier 3 skins. And when and the way I describe that is they have all the animations that you've come to expect from a tier 3 skin.
True.
Every ability is upgraded, everything's better about it. And for all of us that know, it is really difficult to get tier 3 skins. A lot of people spend a lot more than $15 on card decks to try to get these tier 3 skins. I know I have.
50 to 100
So
bucks for a tier 3.
easily. And so $15 is a small price to pay for a skin that is as good as a tier 3, and it's you're never going to be able to get it again.
Yeah.
And that exclusivity of it, the rareness of it, it's going to add a dimension to the game. And Super Evil was so cute to add a little countdown counter to remind you every time you looked at skins. By the way, this is exclusive. It doesn't just say exclusive. It's got a counter that's counting down the seconds for how long you have to get this skin.
Yeah. I feel like I'll probably just get both of them. I'm gonna just do it. I need an account that has everything on it. I want that a year from now or whatever, just to be like, yeah, look at all this cool stuff I have that from playing for so long.
I'm in the same camp with you. I'm going to be getting it. To the dismay of many of my guild mates, as they still feel Petal is the worst hero in the game. They just don't like Petal. But I think that there'll be a time when Petal may be very, very valuable, and having the skin just it also shows status for how long you've been playing, and it's something that as the game matures, which we all clearly see it is, it's something worth
Yeah.
keeping.
And these two
On.
skins look amazing on this new seasonal map we have.
Yes,
So
this map.
this is the first time we've seen like a sort of like a refresh to the map. So we have pumpkins and gravestones, and the leaves are missing from the trees, and it's darker and just spookier looking. And this is a pretty neat map at the moment.
It's incredible, and I thought that the darkness would make it difficult to play, but I honestly see no difference, and it makes it a lot nicer when I'm playing late at night in bed with the lights off. Now I don't feel as blinded. It's much darker. It's easier on the eyes for if you're nocturnal, but it's not bad at all. It's really easy to see, and I actually I barely notice it now as I'm playing, but when I stop and just take a second to appreciate it, hopefully I'm not dying in that process. I'm able to see some really amazing details that they put into the map. It's really impressive.
Yeah, and it sounded, I was talking to Kraken, and he mentioned that this was really a passion project for the design team. Like, this wasn't something in their like roadmap of things they were planning to do. It just kind of was like, hey, we kind of want to do this. They started on it, and then like, hey, what do you think of this? And like, all right, let's put it in. Do you think we're gonna see this for like every season now? Is the map gonna change in our next update? Are we gonna get rid of the Halloween one and have like a Thanksgiving one? Like, is it gonna just remove the pumpkins? Like, how detailed is this like seasonal map concept gonna be carried out?
Oh, I absolutely think they're going to be doing it for every single season. And I think you're going to see it throughout the whole year. You're going to see Christmas, you're going to see Easter, and I don't think you're going to see them just sit on it. Like the Halloween map is going to go away after Halloween. So you're going to see them update the Halloween map even before the autumn season's over. So they're saying the autumn season is going to go on for competitive teams till January of next year. And the map's not going to stay around that long. You're going to see a Christmas map. You're going to see an Easter map. You're going to see a spring and summer
Summer
map.
map,
So
yeah.
this is definitely a new I would say status quo of Vainglory that I think we're going to come to expect.
Well, and with the getting rid of the Halloween map, all they have to do is get rid of the pumpkins and the gravestone, and now it's just autumn on the Halcyon Fold. Because it's
Yeah,
still,
I'm really looking forward to a Christmas one though. After seeing this, or a winter one, winter holidays. After seeing this map, I can only imagine how amazing it's going to look to see snow on all the treetops and Christmas trees and decorations. And they put a lot of time and energy into little things in this map. The Easter eggs that you see, the graveyards and the
yeah.
gravestones specifically. I think you're going to see something probably even more impressive because this has been getting a lot of good attention. People love it, and I think Super Evil maybe did this kind of quickly on the side to surprise people. And going forward, you'll probably see a more of a commitment to make it something worthwhile.
Yeah, they accidentally gave themselves more work. Like,
Yes, they did. No, they are forever now required to create amazing seasonal maps every single season.
uh, last thing I want to mention before we wrap up this big 1.9 patch is this guilds and teams that were introduced. This is just a crazy patch that has like new heroes, reworks, theme skins, and then we also got this entirely new system put into place, basically to play with your friends. That's the whole point of it, because Vainglory is more fun when you play with your friends. And so the idea is guilds. You're in Vertigo, I'm Wicked, we have Ardent and Gangstars. We have all these guilds, and people are already like created them offline and using Line and Band and Discord and all this stuff to communicate. And now we're kind of bringing it into the game with this guild and team update. So the idea is
Yeah,
you can create your own team here in guild.
Yeah, it's really awesome. I think it was a feature that I was surprised they didn't have anything for when they released the game because I just thought that guilds, everyone knows Clash of Clans and they've had it for a lot while. So I felt like most multiplayer games would at least recognize that that's a feature that you kind of need. But
Yeah.
they really really wanted to take the time, I think, to understand how would teams form and guilds form and what would they look like. Typically, MOBA teams are very small and they're usually composed of or well in League of Legends, 5, 6, 7, 8 players.
Yeah.
But in Vainglory, we saw something kind of unique. Even though there's only 3 people on a team, the guilds are quite large. You're seeing teams of like 10 and 20 and 30 people. I've heard of guilds with 50 plus. And I don't know if that was the direction Vainglory really wanted everyone to take. So they kind of sat back and kind of waited to see how things accumulated, and they realized that there were several components of it. Is people wanted to place a community that was small where they wouldn't get lost, but big enough where they always had somebody on to play with them, and that's
Right.
where these guilds have taken shape. I'm a part of Team Vertigo, and I love it, and I can tell you that the experience of the game became substantially more enjoyable once I joined Team Vertigo, and the developers absolutely recognize this. They absolutely recognize that guilds brought community to people and they brought longevity. So people are playing more being in a guild. And they
Yeah.
wanted to create a system that complemented that, but they definitely made sure that they didn't lose the traditional roots of like League of Legends teams. So they created two aspects to it. You have your guilds, which you can play together and rank together your guild and get fame. Which, by the way, you have to play with only your guild to get
All three
fame.
people
Yeah,
in your
all
guild.
3 players have to be in your guild to get fame. You won't get fame any other way. At least that's so far as I've found. And the leader, by the way, gets a lot of extra fame. I don't know if you know this. I'm not sure why, but all the guild leaders have like 100 fame already. I'm not sure if they get it for inviting people. But you basically get about 10 fame per match if you win a match.
Oh, so you
And
personally get fame plus your guild gets fame?
well, you personally get fame, and then they add all of the fame of all the members up, and that gives you your cumulative fame, as well as
Oh.
your average skill tier. It kind of just looks at your average skill tier in the guild.
Yeah, okay. Interesting.
But the team aspect that they added was kind of them tipping their hat to the more traditional formation of how teams work in League of Legends and other MOBAs, where you really just have a small group. It's just you and a couple other people. And we see this with guilds, that within the guilds these teams form. It's really just a couple of guys or girls, and they play together, and it's just them. And although they're part of a larger group, a community, a guild, kind of like what you see with these corporations like Cloud9, where they're sponsoring all these different teams.
Yeah.
You kind of see these teams within the guild kind of form, and they play together exclusively. And what Vainglory, I think, originally wanted to exist is that what the teams are, where your team can be a couple people, and it can be independent of a guild, or it can be basically underneath the umbrella of a guild.
Yeah, so anyone can create a guild or a team. It does cost what was it, 300 glory?
No, 7,000
7,000 glory.
glory,
300 ice?
300 ice.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit to create one, and that is just to stop people from spamming different ones and just making guilds and making teams and trying to invite your friends in. You kind of want to make a guild or join a guild, make a team, join a team, and stick with it. Like, be part of that. Level up the guild, level up the team, and play with your friends. That's the whole point of the guild. Like, I know many people in guilds end up playing solo queue and by themselves. They just want it to like a place to talk, but now you kind of have a point to play with these people.
And I think that the way teams and guilds work as far as the skill tier is also different. There's no fame for teams. And with guilds, it's an average of your skill tiers with the guild, but for teams, it's actually its own skill tier. The
Yep.
team actually plays together and ranks their skill tier together as a team. So your skill tier individually can be vainglorious, or actually reverse is probably more applicable. You can be simply amazing, but when you play with these two other guys from your guild, you can beat anybody, and now your team's better. So it allows you to solo queue, at SA. But when you're playing with your team and you work really well with your team, now you can play against much higher elo and rank, at a higher rate, because as a team with the right guys, you just mesh better.
Yeah, and that team ranking is going to play an effect in like tournaments and your seeding and your placement for all those, and if you even get in, because now they're going to know, like, oh, this team is the best team. We can look at our database and see, like, they are seeded 1, rather than them looking at the different players and trying to figure out, like, oh, well, looks like based on who they are, they're 23 in seeding. So it's kind of, so be nice and be, I think, more competitive matches moving forward.
Yeah, they definitely wanted to get away from, saying, oh, 4 Vainglorious people came together, so that's a good team, to saying these people actually play Vainglorious play together.
Yeah.
Because there's definitely a difference between being Vainglorious and then playing at a Vainglorious level with a certain group of people.
Yeah. So this would be nice. I know I'll be contributing to the guild fame, and if you're not part of a guild, you'll probably start to see some of these people on the fold, because you do get a guild tag and a team tag when you go into games. So if you run into a guild, you're now going to know it, rather than just people maybe change their names. They're now going to have a little 3 or 4 letter thing next to them. So
right.
Everyone will know.
And you can click on people and see their guild and see how many members. And this is a new thing. This was never before could you do this, but now you can see who's in what guilds. And I don't know if everyone's going to be happy with this. Some guilds have been very private about what members they have and who's in their guild. But I don't see much of a value, and I'm glad that the visibility of seeing who's what, who's where is now available. Because now you didn't know you were playing with this person from this other guild, and maybe you have a rivalry with that guild, and now you don't want to play with that guild anymore. They're your rival. So now it's just kind of nice. Now you can kind of have your banner, your coat of arms that you can kind of defend and stick up with. So that's really exciting. And they, as they said, with every update, this is just the tip of the iceberg. When they introduce a new feature, it's usually a fraction of their final vision.
And this is almost like the tease for what we're going to see for our player profiles. When, like, we've got guild profiles and team profiles, this is just like a step in, like, me being able to click on Dragonborne and be like, let me see his match history and who's he been playing, and do a little
That's a really good point. I hadn't thought about that. That's something that we've all been requesting. And for the first time, you can kind of see, well, what's their fame? What's their average skill tier? What's going on? And maybe they'll move to something a little bit more personal with player profile too.
Yeah, I think it's a huge undertaking to add that step into the game, and that data, and so baby steps. So bear with them as they add these little things in. I'm sure we'll see more and more added to the guild and teams, and then player profiles at some point. But there's some more changes. There's bug fixes. There's item changes. But we're coming up on an hour. We should probably get out of here. If you really want to dive into all the numbers, go to vainglory.com and click on the patch notes. They're all there, all the numbers that you need to know if you're like really want to dive into how much damage Piercing Shards is going to do now or something like that. Go check that out. Dragonborne, thanks for joining me for this great rundown and this massive patch.
I know we weren't even able to talk about the items. There was so much to go over. Go see the notes that Vainglory posted. There's just minor tweaks to the items, but I'm really excited to get in and play, and I'm sure you guys all are too.
Yeah. So where can people find you again for streaming and on Twitter, all that good stuff?
Yeah, so I stream on Camcord, camcord.com/live/Dragonborne. I'm at Twitter at VG Dragonborne. And just a little FYI, the Born has an E at the end. It's spelled the British way. I'm on Twitter all the time, so VG Dragonborne. And I'm also part of Team Vertigo. You can go to www.vertigovg.com, and you can go take a look at our guild and our rosters and check everything out. And we're a pretty active part of the community, trying to help promote guilds and teams. And we've been promoting this for a while, and we're really excited that Super Evil Megacorp is finally giving the love and appreciation to guilds that we think we deserve.
For sure. And you can follow Shatter The Vain on Twitter. It's at Shatter The Vain. Website, shatterthevain.com. All the episodes get posted there. Links to iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, YouTube. However you want to watch or listen to the show, it's available to you. So go over there, and if you do listen on iTunes or Stitcher, leave a review. I love seeing those. Gets more people to watch the show, gets more people interested in Vainglory. Maybe we'll get more people to join your guild as well if they start playing. So definitely leave a review. Love seeing those. That'll do it for this patch rundown. Thanks for listening.
Shatter the Vain.